Let me tell you about the night a restaurant bully got exactly what she deserved. And I mean that literally. She asked for special treatment, and we made absolutely sure she got it. Welcome back to Story Vault, the place where real people share the stories they cannot tell anywhere else. If you are new here, hit subscribe. We drop new stories every week. Now let me get into this one, because it is deeply satisfying. Back in 2015, I was working my way through nursing school as a waitress. The restaurant I worked at had a particular philosophy. They did not advertise. Not a single ad, not a single promotion. They relied entirely on word of mouth. Happy customers told friends. That reputation was everything to them. Keep that in the back of your mind because it matters later. I had been there several months by that point and had proved myself reliable enough to help support new staff during their early shifts. Not an official trainer, but someone the actual trainers trusted to keep a new waiter from drowning once they were set loose on the floor. On the night of this story, we had a newer guy working the section next to mine. He had just been released from a difficult situation and was starting fresh. A little awkward, a little shy, understandably nervous, but genuinely great to work with. This was his very first night running his own complete section alone. I was watching his back. I had positioned myself so I could see his tables and jump in when things got complicated. And things were about to get very complicated. His section got hit with a round table of about 6 people. 20-somethings, full of attitude, led by one woman who clearly believed the world existed to serve her. I will call her the leader. It started simply enough. The leader told my colleague that she wanted something that was not on our menu. She insisted our other location made it all the time, and that we had the ingredients, so just make it. Now, I could have coached him to push back right then. But nerves and a first solo section are not the right conditions for a confrontation, so I told him to ask the kitchen and see what they could do. The cooks were fine with it. Basically a wrap, if I remember correctly, so it got made. No problem. That was apparently all the invitation the leader needed. From that moment forward, every single time he came to the table, she needed something else. The moment the last requested item landed, she had a new demand ready. He never got a break. He never got a thank you. He got nothing but pressure and impatience. I could see his face from across the floor, and it was not good. I stepped in quietly, started cycling his other tables into my own rhythm, so he could focus on managing hers. This is the kind of thing you do for a colleague. You cover for them, you keep things moving, and you check in on them when they disappear into the back. Every time I caught him back there, he looked worse. I reminded him there was a chance the table would tip nothing, and that was not a reflection of him. I told him I would not touch the tips from his other tables. Those were his. I was just trying to keep him from quitting on the spot. And honestly, at several points I thought he might. The table had come in near the end of the night. By the time they finished eating, they were the last table in our section. Everyone else had gone home. That is when he came to me with a new question. He wanted to know how to process an employee discount. And then he added that she was asking to stack multiple employee discounts on a single ticket. I stopped. Wait, employee? That was when he told me everything. She had spent the entire meal not just making demands, but mocking him, belittling him, telling him he was the worst waiter she had ever seen in her life. She was apparently a trainer at our sister location, and she had been using that fact to humiliate him the entire night. That was why his confidence had been completely shattered. That was why he looked like he was about to walk out. She had been tearing him apart between every trip to the table. I want to be careful here, because if I tell you how angry I was, you will not believe me. So let me just say I was extremely motivated to respond thoughtfully and effectively. I told him to go prep the cakes, but not to bring them out yet. She had also informed him there were multiple birthdays at the table and wanted free birthday cakes and the full birthday song immediately. I told him I needed to speak to the manager first. Now, I need to tell you about our managers, because this is part of what made everything that followed possible. They were genuinely exceptional. Every single one of them had the backs of their staff, which, if you have ever worked in a restaurant, you will know is extremely rare. We loved all of them. I found the front-end manager and gave him a fast rundown of the entire evening. The demands, the entitlement, the employee discount stacking attempt, and most importantly, the sustained cruelty she had directed at a new member of staff all night. He went quiet in that particular way. That means someone has touched something important. Then I watched his face shift as he remembered something. Remember the word-of-mouth restaurant, the one whose entire reputation depended on the experience customers had and the stories they told afterward. He was not going to let a member of staff from a sister location behave like this under his roof without a response. He told me he had a boss-to-boss phone call to make. Then he smiled and asked what I had in mind. I told him. He gave me permission immediately. I ran to every available employee I could find. Half the restaurant was closing down, so there were quite a few of us still around, including the dishwasher. I gave each of them the fastest summary of the evening. I told them exactly what this woman had done to our colleague, and I told them the plan. Then, I told the nervous, exhausted, thoroughly beaten down server that we were ready to drop the cakes. What arrived at that 6-person corner table was the largest birthday party crowd that restaurant had ever assembled for a single table. Quite possibly the largest it will ever see. We placed a free birthday cake in front of every single seat, and the leader had the most self-satisfied smirk on her face as we all lined up, grinning at her. Then we sang. We sang that birthday song as loud as humanly possible. I want you to picture this. Last table of the night. Corner booth. A crowd of restaurant workers who had just been told exactly what this woman had done to their colleague. All of us screaming the birthday song at full volume in an enclosed corner, the sound bouncing back off the walls and hitting everyone at the table from every direction simultaneously. Their smiles disappeared instantly. Hands flew up to cover ears. People flinched. The song went on for what felt like a beautiful eternity. Every verse, every note, every single word screamed with genuine enthusiasm. It hurt my ears. Standing right there, participating, it hurt my ears. That pain still makes me smile. While we had been gathering in that dining room, while we had been screaming that birthday song until our ears rang, our manager had been in that office making 2 phone calls. The first to her location manager. The second to the general manager of the entire company. Her employee number had been shared. Her conduct had been described in full. The stacked discount attempt. The cruelty toward a new waiter on his first solo night. All of it. Her discount was denied. Not reduced. Not adjusted. Denied entirely. And she was fired. Not eventually. Not pending a review. That night, standing at our host desk, phone in hand, crying, trying to make her excuses to a general manager who had already made his decision before she even picked up the phone. I would have given up my spot in that birthday song to hear those phone calls. Almost. Now the comment section on this story had some things to say. The top comment, with over 700 upvotes, said, There is a special place in a very unpleasant location for restaurant workers who act terribly when they go out to eat. And honestly, the agreement on that comment was almost universal. Another commenter pointed out something I found interesting. She would have known that employee discounts cannot be stacked. That is basic restaurant knowledge, especially for someone claiming to be a trainer. Which means she was not confused about the rules. She was testing how much she could get away with. She was counting on a nervous new waiter, not knowing enough to push back. Several people noted the detail that she had been doing this to a colleague on his very first solo night. Not just a random customer being difficult, someone who worked in the same industry, who knew exactly what that night meant, who understood the pressure he was under, and chose to make it worse on purpose. That detail is what elevates this from a bad customer story to something genuinely cruel. The dishwasher being in the birthday crowd was a particular favorite detail in the comments. One person wrote, "The inclusion of the dishwasher tells you everything you need to know about how that staff felt about each other." So, what do you think? Was the response proportionate? Or did she deserve even more? And have you ever worked in a service job and dealt with someone like this? Leave your verdict in the comments. I read every single one. If you want more stories like this, subscribe and hit the bell. New stories every Thursday and Sunday. And if this reminded you of someone, send it to them. I will see you in the next one.